Rick, and it's a pleasure to be joining you tonight to explain a little bit about our Juris Doctor and what it's like to study at Macquarie Law School. What you've got here is actually our future law school. So we're very proud that we're growing and expanding, and that in a few years' time we'll be in this new building with this amazing round structure at the front that you can see here, which will be our new moot court. And it's it's named in advance. It's going to be the Michael Kirby building, named of course after a previous High Court judge, Justice Michael Kirby, and we're very proud to be affiliated with him and to have named the building in his honour already. And we're really looking forward to turning some dirt on that building, hopefully this year. So you're here to find out a little bit about the Juris Doctor. This slide here just shows where it fits into our law program at Macquarie Law School. The Juris Doctor is a 3-year full-time law degree that qualifies you for legal practice in Australia. If you want to practice as a lawyer at the end of your studies, then you're also required to do some study at the College of Law. It's called practical legal training, or at another provider of practical legal training to do some volunteer legal work under supervision and so on. But the Juris Doctor itself does qualify you, meet the eligibility requirements for an academic course leading to admission as a lawyer. And of course, it's for postgraduate students. So for entry into the Juris Doctor, you need to already have an undergraduate degree in nearly all circumstances. If you don't meet the criteria for the Juris Doctor, and I'll explain that in a moment, then we do have another pathway, which is via the graduate certificate. It's actually taken over a full year, but it's the equivalent of 6 months full time. And the 4 units that you take as part of the graduate certificate, if you pass those, then you can also qualify for entry into the Juris Doctor. So as I've said, it prepares you for admission as a lawyer, but we're quite proud that we teach law in context. So we're preparing people for all kinds of careers where legal knowledge and experience can be important. So we pride ourselves not on just helping you to learn the law, but to understand why the law is the way it is, understanding law in its economic, historical, social and political context, and also thinking about what law might look like in the future and how you can impact law in the future. And these are the kinds of skills that are really important in any workplace, not just for legal practice. So as well as learning the law, you'll also gain skills in analysing legal problems, in writing, in advocating on behalf of others, and just understanding how the law operates in different environments. So that opens up a world of opportunities for you, whether you want to be a barrister or solicitor, or you're looking at moving forward in a career that you currently have. Perhaps you're looking at moving into management and you need a better understanding of the kinds of risk and compliance issues that face management. Or you might be considering moving up in the public service, working for a financial institution, or so on. So law really is the kind of degree that serves you well in preparing you for a range of careers. And I know for myself, I entered law partly as a way of enhancing other advocacy roles that I was involved in, working with homeless people and with people with disabilities. And I found through the study of law, obviously I loved it enough to move into a role as a legal academic, but I found that understanding the law helped in so many ways, even in a non-legal career. And I think other graduates would attest to that as well. At the bottom of this next slide, there's some information about the entrance requirements, and I might just go through those first. So for entry into the Juris Doctor, as I said, you need an undergraduate bachelor's degree or the equivalent. You need a weighted average mark of 65 or above, and that's for a fee-paying place. There are a small number of Commonwealth supported places. Those are quite competitive, and generally you would need a distinction average or above. That doesn't guarantee you a Commonwealth supported place, but that would put you, in a sort of competitive zone for those limited numbers of Commonwealth supported places. And then there are English language requirements as well for international students, with a requirement of IELTS of 7 with a minimum of 6.5 for each band. So some of the things that are important to understand about the Juris Doctor at Macquarie University are, firstly, I think its flexibility is a real highlight. So around 2/3 of our students are distance students, and they're balancing full-time or part-time work, careers, family, extracurricular activities with their studies. And then the other 1/3 are internal full-time and part-time students. So because we have a lot of students who are studying with us largely in distance mode, we operate under a flipped learning model. Now, what that means is that your lectures are pre-recorded and you can listen to them at any time, as often as you want, when and where you want, and repeat those parts of the lectures that you maybe are struggling with or want to understand further. So that frees up our class times for more interactive learning. Now, at the moment, of course, because of COVID, our tutorial classes are also held online, and they're timetabled for internal students during the week. And for our distance students, ordinarily they would come onto campus for 2 days for every unit that they study. So at the moment, we offer that equivalent in an online environment. But so far, speaking for myself, I'm finding the Zoom tutorials are a really great way of connecting with students, and we're still having great conversations. They still are discussing things with each other in an interactive way in breakout rooms in a lot of our tutorials. And that's, it's not ideal, but it's operating quite well as a replacement for the face-to-face experience. But ordinarily, all our Juris Doctor students, whether they're distance or internal students, have that face-to-face time with our academics. And one of the distinguishing features, I think, about Macquarie University is that our academics teach in our core units. They interact with students on a regular basis. You get to know the academics. We have weekly consultation times where students can talk to us as well. And of course, we communicate online as well through our online learning platforms. Another thing that distinguishes Macquarie University is that towards the end of your course, you get to take what we call a PACE unit. Basically, that's like an internship or a practical unit where you get to experience working in the legal industry. Now, you can organise those placements for yourself if you have a particular interest in an area of law and make connections with someone in the industry, or perhaps you already work as a paralegal. You can use that experience as part of your PACE unit and receive academic credit for it. But if you don't have those connections, we'll help organise your PACE unit. And that could be anything from spending a semester working in our social justice clinic on refugee and migration law matters, and working also with the Aboriginal Legal Service, perhaps at Western Sydney Legal Centre, or doing remote projects with human rights organisations overseas. So we have links with organisations at the moment in Cambodia, in the Philippines, in Thailand. So we can set up those experiences for you, or you can set them up for yourself. What we really find with the JD is that they develop quite a strong sense of being in a small group cohort. They get to know each other, and that's really important. The legal industry is one where you need to make strong connections and friendships, and that begins in law school. And we find that as our cohorts go through together, they do develop those really strong networks. They stay in touch, and that can lead in the future to other job opportunities and work connections. There's also the opportunity throughout your course of getting involved with the Macquarie University Law Society. They run mooting competitions for our students, as well as careers events and careers advice, social justice events, and more fun sort of things like law camp and social justice trivia nights and so on. So lots of opportunities to get involved with other students, as well as to get involved in activities like extracurricular mooting and internships. This next slide shows a typical study plan for a full-time student. As with any law degree in Australia, a lot of the content and the bulk of your studies are mandated by the accrediting bodies. So everyone who wants to practice law in Australia, for instance, has to study criminal law, they have to study torts, contracts, constitutional law, and so on. And this slide here shows what that program would typically look like. In your first semester, through the study of foundations of law and research methodologies, we really try to set you up with the foundational skills that you'll need for success throughout your law course. The Foundations of Law course is a low-risk pass-fail unit where we help you to learn how to read cases, how to understand the hierarchy of courts in Australia, how to research in law, and so on. And then research methodologies also built on those skills. So we try and scaffold your skills to support you for success throughout your degree. In this study plan, you'll see that this would be a typical part-time student might take 2 units per semester. So if you're balancing work and university, for instance, that might be the kind of approach that you'd take. But it's very flexible at Macquarie University. So you can actually, you might want to spend the first semester doing part-time work, part-time study, find that you're coping really well and move into full-time or 3 units in semester 2. So there's quite a lot of flexibility about how you manage your study throughout your course. If you were doing it part-time, generally it would take you 6 years across the course of your program. And you can contrast that with an undergrad degree, which would take 4 years full-time for a straight law degree or 8 years part-time. So this is probably a good opportunity to introduce Koo. Luke's already introduced her briefly, but no better way to hear about what it's like studying at Macquarie in the JD than to hear from a current Juris Doctor student. Koo, maybe you could just give people who are listening your highlights of studying in the Juris Doctor. What is it that you like about studying at Macquarie Law School, and how have you found that transition from work into being a student again?
Well, thanks so much, Lise, and thanks, Luke. Thanks for having me. So I think in order for me to share exactly what kind of experience I've had, it would be good for me just to tell you a little bit about my background. I think Luke mentioned that I did my undergraduate at Macquarie many years ago, and then I went on to have 3 different careers so far. So my career has been quite varied. I worked extensively in New York and LA, first in news and journalism, working with CNN, and then I moved into the entertainment industry. And I was working in the entertainment industry for about 11 years in Los Angeles. So when I decided to move back to Australia, I really felt that I needed more skills in order to work with the clients that I already had in the entertainment industry, so that I was able to not only give them advice as a consultant, but potentially as a lawyer. So my original, and hopefully to be able to represent them in litigation. So originally what I wanted to do was get into the Juris Doctor program, become a lawyer and work as a lawyer in the entertainment industry. But what I've been learning at Macquarie University in my courses has kind of broadened the idea of what it will be like once I finished with my JD, and has opened up a lot more opportunities for me. So the things that I really, really enjoy about studying at Macquarie, first of all, it's really different than it was when I was in my undergraduate, but of course everything now is online. And you can, as Lise said, revisit a lot of these lectures that are up, which gives you the flexibility to be able to revise in a really easy way. So I love the content of the courses, but I think the thing that I love the most is the support and the guidance that we get at Macquarie. I found that the teaching is generally quite outstanding. They really care about you as students and as people. And it's not just about, as Lise said, learning the letter of the law, but it's about learning how to put that into practice. So that's what I really love about studying at Macquarie.